Hey, you guys, happy Wednesday. Welcome to another episode of Random Stories I Found on My Phone. I'm Jay Kenner, and this is one of the ways I amuse myself. Yes, I am weird, but it's fun. I find pictures on my phone I don't remember taking and give them a story. A very, very loose story that I sort of pull together while I'm talking to you guys. Um, and ultimately, that story may or may not be tightened up and turned into a book. Who knows? At any rate, here is today's image. Let me make sure you guys can see it. Oops, going the wrong direction. Bunch of pulpy, fictiony books that are sitting on a table, a desk, whatever. I actually do remember where I saw this photo, so I'm cheating a little bit because I remember seeing this pile of books, and I took a picture of it at this funky little motel in Arizona, which is my absolute favorite. So I'm going to give them a pitch. It's the oh my God, now I say the McCoy Arts in is it? Yeah, it's in Tucson. So when I drive cross country, I always stop there, and they always have books on a table. And that time it was these pulpy ones, and I thought I got to take a picture of that, so I did, and now I'm using it. So there, and I'm calling this episode Pulp Fiction. Okay, so I am thinking. My mom used to read a lot of those books, so when I saw those, they were very familiar looking. So I'm thinking there is this there was this old lady, sorry mom, it's not her, who's the aunt of like our heroine, and she died, and the heroine inherited her house. Boy, try saying that three times fast. And she goes there. She didn't really even know the aunt, let's say. And so she goes to this like small town. I'm picturing one of the small towns in Texas, like Fredericksburg, only even smaller. Mason or something, if you guys know the area. And she goes there, and this cute little house is just packed with paperbacks. Now, this actually is my mom because she lived in this tiny house and she had bookshelves everywhere. And so that was just, it was like walking into like the tiniest library in the universe. But anyway, so they're everywhere. They're just towers of paperbacks, that look like if you breathe wrong, they're just going to all come tumbling down and you'd be trapped under them for a million years. Every room. Okay, and so our heroine is annoyed because, excuse me, she needs to sell the house quickly, right? And most of the books look like they came from garage sales in the last century, and she doesn't really want to deal with this. She wants to just, toss them and get rid of them, but she's like, she doesn't. She can't toss a book. So she's going to pack them up and she's going to donate them. But then she starts noticing when she flips through a few of them, just the way one does, that there's like some underlining and oh God, what else was there? Maybe some weird like symbols in the margins and stuff. Nothing like specific, nothing like, ooh, really great line, or, I don't know what that thing is that the bad guy is holding. I need to go look it up. It's like not anything you really want to remember. So she's totally confused. Um, and every once in a while, in some of the books, she'll run across words too, like a message. Um, I don't know, like, beware the girl with red hair, or trust the man with the scar. I have no idea, but something that makes her, the niece, be like, huh, this is strange. So she's curious. But at the same time, she didn't really know the aunt, and the aunt has passed away. And so she's not really going to dig deep. She just wants to sell this place and get on with her life. So she packs up the boxes and she schleps them to the little town. Has a little, used bookstore that's mostly more like a trading place, and people sit there and drink coffee, and they can buy a used book, or they can like maybe sit and read it there because the owner's really nice. And the guy who owns the store is, has to be hot and he has to be cute, because I think this is turning into a romance and we need a hero. He's kind of guarded, um, really smart. I mean, I picture a smart guy owning a bookstore, and he's sexy too, because of course. Um, but in this kind of quiet sort of way, right? And he's also closed off, so we're going to have, he and her are going to have to like break through some barriers if we're going to have a romantic subplot here. Or if maybe the romance is the whole plot. I started out thinking this is a mystery, but maybe it's actually a romance with a mystery. That we can figure out later. Right now we're just playing with the bones. Anyway, he recognizes not the actual books, but he recognizes the kind of the age of them. They're all from the same era. They all kind of have that same sort of pulpy feel. And when the heroine, oh God, I need to give her a name. I can't just keep saying the heroine. Sarah. When Sarah comes in, she looks a little bit like her aunt, and so he's surprised to see her. He doesn't really know her, but he knew the aunt died, and so she's like, I inherited the house. Hey, and so he needs a name too. He is a guy, so we are naming him Guy because I am putting all my creativity in the story this morning because I have not had enough coffee. Anyway, Guy, just for the irony, he knew the aunt before she disappeared because she would come in and she would read from his little lending library, or she would sell him some of her books, or maybe she bought books from him so he could actually maybe be a person of interest in this because maybe he knows what those marks are. I don't know. Anyway, I'm starting to get, oh, here's an idea. What if there was some scandal in the town going on, and maybe they talked about it when she came in and she'd have her coffee and be reading her paperbacks. The aunt, I mean, not our heroine, who I named Sarah. I named her Sarah. Okay. I'm starting to get way too in the weeds. Anyway, so Sarah just wants to get this done and go home and sell him the books, and Guy just wants to hide behind his books. And so they're both kind of leaning towards, yeah, no, we're not getting together. We're not being friends. We're doing a business transaction and then we're parting ways because they're both very sort of internal people. But they want to know what happened to the aunt. And so, yeah, they team up kind of reluctantly, but underneath the surface, there's got to be this attraction, because, hey, I write romance. And again, don't know whether the romance is the subplot or the plot, but we got a romance going on and a mystery going on, and one is going to take precedent over the other at some point, but we don't have to figure that out yet. Anyway, they realize, I have no idea how, that her little random markings in the books are clues. And I have no idea to what, but that's the point. That's why we brainstorm. So we are going on. Let's see. So they start digging through all of the books that are hers to see what else they find, what else is underlined, what else has little marks. And somehow, through the magic of imagination, if I were to sit down and actually start plotting this puppy, they would figure out that the clues are evidence against someone powerful in town that has something to do with that scandal that we talked about, like old money kind of stuff, like oh golly gee, like that guy in It's a Wonderful Life, that kind of a guy, the one who was the bad guy, who, even though I've seen that movie 8 billion times, I cannot remember his name, but you probably know it, so we don't have to worry about that. And as they do all of this, they're also obviously, falling for each other. They work together, maybe they're digging through all the boxes in dark, intimate corners. They have him set up in her living room, and he comes over and she makes him dinner as they go through book after book, and things get kind of sexy and they kind of start to like each other. And so that whole plot line's happening while the mystery plot line's happening. And then somehow, this is the hard part when you're writing, you get this idea and you're like, yay, idea. And then you're like, oh, I need this idea to fill up somewhere between, 200 to 400 pages or whatever, depending on what genre you're writing in. And it's always the middle. I don't know if y'all have heard the term sagging middle, but that is a real problem because you got to figure out what goes there. I am not doing that right now. We are going to not just have a sagging middle, we're going to have an empty middle. Somehow, all of their getting together and looking at all this stuff leads them to one of the books, and there's something about it. They know from the clues that they've seen, the mystical, magical clues that we'll figure out later, something tells them that that particular book is key. It is absolutely key. And maybe even it's disappeared, and it turns out that it's actually one of the ones that's at his store, and it's been lended out over and over again, maybe. Who knows? Anyway, it's important because it has a, safety deposit key. And it's like hidden in the spine. You know how sometimes like this could maybe be a hardback book and how it has that little indentation between the pages and the cover, and it's like in there, taped in there or something, and they find it. And inside the box, when they go to the safe deposit box, which I do not actually have a safety deposit box, but presumably when she inherited the house, she also inherited the safety deposit box, or she has the right to it. Anyway, they get in. I don't care. We'll figure that one out later. And um, there's proof. Something to do with the scandal we mentioned earlier and bad It's a Wonderful Life guy. So probably a murder. Um, and so I think that probably they're like, oh my God, we've solved this, we know, but what do we do? So I think they managed to get the proof to the police. They're in danger. She's in danger. He saves her, of course. Uh, or they're both in danger. He's protecting her, and then the police burst in at the last minute. So he's done his manly thing by protecting her, but he doesn't have to be, Bruce Willis. And I think maybe the ending is something like, she decides to stay in the town because she's charmed by it, because that's the way small town books work often. And they run the bookstore together, and all those paperbacks from the house are actually in the store, but they're one dedicated shelf with a picture of the aunt above them. And they're not for sale. They're just like a memorial to the aunt and a tribute to how they met. So there you go. That could be fun. This could be fun to write. I do these and then I think they could all be fun to write, and I do not have that many hours. But anyway, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy this feature. It's kind of fun. I certainly enjoy it, and I will see you guys next week. Ciao.